On the morning of April 28, 2024, after the Russian army managed to take control of the strategically important settlements of Berdichi, Keramika, and Novokolinovo, the line of combat contact was significantly pushed back to the west. The remaining units of the armed forces of Ukraine, having suffered enormous losses in manpower and heavy equipment, were forced to retreat in a westerly direction, towards the Volkhia River. A mass retreat of the Ukrainian army allowed the Russian troops to begin the evacuation of all the damaged American Abrams tanks from the battlefield to the rear areas. By the way, the repair and evacuation unit of the group of troops under the designation center published footage of the evacuation of one of the American Abrams tanks. According to the Russian military, these American tanks will be restored and sent to Moscow to Poklonnaya Hill, where an exhibition of captured Western military equipment used by the Ukrainian army will be open on May 1, 2024. This exhibition should become a symbol of the victory of the Russian army over the North Atlantic Alliance. By the way, many Russian generals have already stated that NATO has lost so heavily to the Russian Federation on the battlefield in Ukraine. Against this background, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg asked Putin to cancel the exhibition in Moscow, where all the defeated Western military equipment will be assembled. In particular, Jens Stoltenberg said that this exhibition in Moscow is very insulting to NATO, since the North Atlantic Alliance has never been one of the parties to the conflict. This exhibition in Moscow gives the impression to the whole world that NATO took part in this war and lost devastatingly. The Russians should not show the whole world captured Western military equipment, as if they had already won this war, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said. Jens Stoltenberg made this statement in his Telegram channel. At the same time, it is worth noting that a few hours after this statement, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg, in an interview with German journalists, admitted that Russia's victory in Ukraine would create a huge risk for the North Atlantic Alliance. As for the American Abrams tanks that will end up in Moscow in the ranks of defeated Western equipment, this is indeed very humiliating not only for NATO but also for the United States, which for decades considered Abrams tanks the best in the world, calling them a symbol of Western power. Let me remind you that within 50-60 days, in the Avdiivka direction of the front, Russian troops managed to destroy 7 American Abrams tanks. 2 more Abrams tanks were seriously damaged due to hitting Russian mines in February 2024. Thus, in total, the armed forces of Ukraine lost 9 units of Abrams tanks starting from February of this year. And against this background, the United States decided to evacuate all the remaining American tanks to the rear. At the moment, Abrams tanks are no longer taking part in combat operations in Ukraine.